Okay, we got Rod Black. Okay, well, hey, perfect. Listen, you're jumping in the middle of it. Rod Black, the iconic, famed broadcaster, first ever voice of the Raptors. So listen, I'm going to get your take in a second. Here's what we do. NHL leftovers from last night. I'm only going to highlight 3 games, RB. In Montreal, Jake Evans scored the winning goal with 2:15 to go. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2. The Habs are the best team in the NHL since December 17th. In New York, Igor Shesterkin made 20 saves, and the Rangers blanked the Senators 5-0. And in Edmonton, where everybody's talking about up here, Luc Dubois had a goal and an assist. Washington won their 5th in a row. They beat the Edmonton Oilers last night. The Oilers were without their star forward, Connor McDavid, serving the first of a 3-game suspension for cross-checking. I don't mean to laugh. I chuckled because I'm like, we're going to put it in park and spend a second or two on Connor McDavid's suspension, because I don't believe we've had a show since this came down 3 games. Or at least I haven't been on the air for it, and I got some time for the suspension. Rod, you're in Canada. You must have seen I'm assuming you're in Canada. You must have seen the clip.
Yeah, I did. I think there are a lot of, obviously, people in Edmonton. Obviously, the Oilers are upset by it. They feel it's too much. They probably thought maybe 1 game. I have a feeling that's justice. I think 3 games sounds about right. I mean, you can't hit somebody in the face with a stick. And as badly as he was wrestled and grappled and held and hogtied and roped by Connor Garland, it was a pretty vicious shot to the face. The fact that Connor McDavid did not appeal that, I think he kind of knows that's what justice was served. That justice was served. I think if you look at it and you judge by other, Tyler Myers as well on Bouchard, I think it was probably just. And unfortunately for the Oilers, they're going to have to be without their superstar for a bit. And it's too bad it was such a marquee game last night. But you can't go around hitting somebody in the face with a stick. I mean, this is a league that's trying to get rid of what? Headshots? It's trying to get rid of headshots, yet you still have fighting, which doesn't kind of make sense. But,
okay.
And I am the biggest Connor McDavid fan. He's the greatest. He has the greatest skill set that anybody in the National Hockey League has ever had. Still doesn't have a Stanley Cup, maybe this year. I think the Oilers are starting to round into form, but they need Connor McDavid, and he's going to have to find ways to fight through this stuff. And by the way, the officials are also going to have to find ways to stop what we had before he smacked Connor Garland in the yap. So okay. I think 3 is just.
I view this as a treasure just to have Rod Black on the air and listen to you. But can I counterpoint something for you? And we lost Rod Black. He must have got a phone call or something. That's okay.
No,
I want to hear from.
Can you hear me?
There he is. Okay. Yeah. We got you. Your screen went black for a second. But we'll figure it out. No big
you know
deal.
What? That's called a blackout. Fade to black.
That's funny. A blackout, everybody. 902.
Did I ever tell you about the time, Rod, that I was working with somebody?
No.
I was working with somebody, and well, first of all, I once worked with JoJo White doing a basketball game. So it was black and white in color. So we had a black guy named White, a white guy named Black, and that was unique. But then also in Winnipeg at my local station when I started CKY, there was a reporter, the anchor that night, Barb Ross, had a bit of a malaprop. She said, "That's the weather for now. Rod will be black in a moment with the sports." So I guess we did go black there for a second.
Wouldn't that be something? Now listen, if we can keep this on point for a second. You just said McDavid's got the greatest skill set in NHL history, which he does. Do we not? Where are we in the world in terms of there are different rules for different people? How can Tom Brady own a team but also be a broadcaster?
Yeah.
It's in the league bylaw, the NFL bylaw. Well, yeah. My point here is the officials weren't protecting Connor McDavid, so he took it upon himself. Let me go back to when I was 12, Rod Black. I was being bullied at a hockey school. My dad went to the organizers, 3 goalies that were running it, Daryl Baumgartner, Darren Wilcox, and Daryl Hublet, 3 Daryls. Darren Wilcox, Daryl Hublet, Daryl Baumgartner, they said, we can't do anything with it. He's going to have to handle it himself. I was 12. So I went up to that bully and I smashed him in the face. The bully's parents complained to the guys that ran the hockey school. They said, We didn't see it. It didn't happen. I had to handle it on my own. And I don't see how this is any different that Connor McDavid had to handle it on his own.
Well, here's the difference is I think Connor McDavid could have handled it on his own by punching him in the yap. I would have probably punched him in the yap, but you cannot, Rod, you can't take your stick, which is a huge weapon, and lay it across the face. I mean, you're automatically going to get suspended. It doesn't matter who you are. You're Connor McDavid, you're Connor Garland. It doesn't matter who you are. You put that stick into somebody's face. I think Connor McDavid tries to handle it on his own. I think the refereeing absolutely sucks at some points on some of these players that are getting tied up. How could you miss? Stevie Wonder could have made that call with Connor Garland. He wrapped him up like a pretzel. I mean, the only thing that, beyond using a rope to tie him up, how could you miss that call? And I'm sure afterwards the officials are looking at it going, and I'm sure the Department of Safety is also looking at it going, well, yes, you cannot retaliate with a stick. So my only thing for Connor McDavid is that you can't use your stick, but I would definitely punch somebody in the nose or in the yap, and which you did, by the way. You didn't use your stick, right?
No.
No.
He used knuckles.
And by the way,
here,
I mean, I know they have protection. They have visors. But the bottom part is not protected. And, the last thing you want to do is see somebody lose some chiclets. I saw a great video. Look it up on Keith Kachuk when he took a shot to the tooth, just to this area, to the mouth area, and the puck went in the net a few years ago. Watch that, and you'll understand what it means to get a shot in the face, whether it's a puck or a stick, and how you never recover from it. So that's why he got 3 games.
Okay. Hey, listen, I appreciate the discussion. Rod saying if he'd punched him, not cross-checked him, he'd have been fine. That's Rod Black's take.
Punch him in the
I think that's what we're here for.
Wrestle him to the ground.
Okay, everybody.
That's what it
That's what it seems to work. Okay. Now, moving on, dude. Well, I hope, for 40 minutes. We have a lot of things to get to here. Point 2 of the Quick Six show topics. The near-annual playoff matchups between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are hardly unprecedented. The one-sided nature of the postseason rivalry between the two star quarterbacks is more unusual. Mahomes' Kansas City Chiefs will host Allen and the Bills in the AFC title game on Sunday night for the 4th postseason matchup between these two in the past 5 seasons. Mahomes has won them all. In the first 3 anyways, winning the 2020 AFC title game, 2021 divisional round matchup at home, and then a divisional roundup last season in Buffalo. What I'm asking, it's the poll question today, Rod Black, for EMJ Marketing. What's the best Super Bowl matchup? Is it Kansas City, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Washington, or Buffalo, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Washington? Yeah. What do you think is the best Super Bowl 59 matchup
I love
in New Orleans?
them all. Yeah. I love them all. The one that's least compelling to me would be Washington Buffalo, and that's not going to happen. I like Washington Kansas City because I do think that Jaden Daniels is the next Patrick Mahomes. He plays like him. He improvises like him. He's got the quick feet. He's got great poise. And he kind of is coming into the game the way Patrick Mahomes did, and the star was born. But I don't think they're going to get there. The best matchup in terms of compelling television would be Philadelphia and Kansas City. The Chiefs going for the three-peat. The Eagles trying to avenge a loss, of course. Saquon Barkley, who I believe should garner some MVP votes, but he won't. Lamar Jackson's going to be the MVP. Having said that, I do think the MVP of the league is Patrick Mahomes. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about anything. If you're valuable, if the Kansas City Chiefs did not have Patrick Mahomes, they're not there. He does get a few calls every once in a while, like we all see. But I do think the matchup that's going to happen is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. I have a feeling, for some reason, I don't know what it is, I just see a different Josh Allen. I see a more poised Josh Allen. What kills Josh Allen in the past is trying to do too much. The Buffalo Bills are going to have to play tremendous defense to beat the Chiefs, especially in that place, which is haunting. The weather isn't going to be as bad as it was last year when the helmet was broken, or even last week when everything was absolutely frigid. It looks like it's still going to be cold, but it's not going to be absolutely frigid or a snowstorm. But for some reason, I just see something, Rod, in this Buffalo Bills team that is different. And I love the way they talked afterwards. It wasn't look like they were celebrating anything. I love Josh Allen's interview after the game when they were trying to play, here it comes. You got to chant, hey, we're going to worry about Kansas City next week. Not this, hey, we can beat Kansas City, which every reporter, as you know, we're reporters, try to bait the interview subject. So I think Buffalo, Philadelphia for me. I think the best matchup obviously would be for ratings would be Kansas City and Philadelphia. But I have a feeling Bills Mafia is going to the Super Bowl. I really do believe that.
Leading the polls here on Twitter and YouTube amongst our viewers is Kansas City, Philadelphia. From the audience, Carlos in Indianapolis says Mahomes Allen is becoming the new Manning Brady. From Sea Lightning writes in and says, please, no more Taylor Swift. Listen, these games aren't rigged. They're not. But what's best for business? I'm starting to realize, Rod, if you sit back and go, what's best for business? From an NFL perspective, you might pick a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. Listen, right. It's been the best thing for the NFL financially since Taylor Swift got involved.
And Caitlin Clark and whoever Taylor Swift decides to bring in this week.
Right. I know. Well, people are going to tune in to see. So there's that. Like, you've called so many games, as have I. The games aren't rigged. You can't tell me teams aren't favored. It happens. Subconsciously, it happens. What do you think about that?
I do think there's a subconscious and a bias built into a referee. I do believe in it, especially regarding no person wants to be booed or jeered. And I do feel that referees sometimes, especially for the home field, base their calls on reaction and crowd reaction. So, I do think there is some inert bias, but I do not believe that they're rigged. I don't think this is rigged for Taylor. It's absolutely atrocious. I mean, all the conspiracy theories out there, by the way, there are tons of them, and we're dealing with more of them this week because, of course, our world has changed considerably politically. But no, you can't rig it. If it was rigged, honestly, I think an incredible matchup would be Lamar Jackson against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Lamar Jackson, again, I think he's going to win MVP. I feel badly for Mark Andrews this week. He's the Bill Buckner of the National Football League. And unless somebody does something equally outrageous or egregious this week, unfortunately, Mark Andrews is going to have to live with that play. But that would have been an incredible shootout too. But I do like this Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But Josh Allen hasn't won anything yet. And that's the thing. And Patrick Mahomes, by the way, there's no other quarterback in the National Football League under the age of 35 that has as many Super Bowl, even one Super Bowl ring. Patrick Mahomes has them right now. And of course, he's trying to chase down Tom Brady. So that is an intriguing storyline, Rod. The Patrick Mahomes, is he the GOAT of all time? He's got a long way to go. He's got 4 more to get. But I tell you what, he gets into the conversation by getting a three-peat, which nobody has ever done before.
Yes. Wonderful use of the term inert, by the way. Ryan in upstate New York writes that he says, good day, Rod Squad. Buffalo, Washington would be something to see. A rematch of Super Bowl 26. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes that he says, I voted Kansas City, Philly. I agree with Rod Black. He said Bills. Rod said Bills. When we come back, we'll talk more on this, and we will talk Bob Uecker. You met the man, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, many times.
The NFL coaching carousel. Look, we'll be right back in a moment. We're live on the Game Plus television network across Canada and 32 U.S. states, including Illinois. Streaming live, podcasts, wherever the best podcasts are found. Speaking of Rod Black joins us, and here's our next point.
Podcasting around the world, the Rod couple.
Exactly. Exactly, the Rod couple. Point 3, Bob Uecker. The voice of his hometown Milwaukee Brewers, who after a short playing career earned the moniker Mr. Baseball, and honors from the Hall of Fame, has been laid to rest in his home state of Wisconsin. Uecker's family said he had battled small cell lung cancer since early 2023. I never met the man. You have several times, you said. What did you think when you heard Bob Uecker passed away?
No, I was really sad. I knew he had been suffering. I got to know him in the early 80s, actually, on some speaking engagements that I was hosting, one in Winnipeg, later one in the Maritimes, and then quite obviously my son, Milwaukee Brewer, being around it, I got to, I was down there a couple of times and bumped into him. And he wasn't clearly the spry Mr. Belvedere, Harry Doyle anymore, but boy, could he still call a game. And I think for my son, it was really cool that Bob Uecker called, a few of his hits in spring training. And, he had that pitch, there's Ty Black. And he was, I think the best way somebody described him the other day, Rod, is that he was the friend that you never met. He was baseball in Wisconsin on the radio. How many people have two statues, one inside, one outside? One outside was at American Family Fields, and I guess there's a memorial there with tons of tributes. And then one inside up in the Uecker row, the Miller Lite commercial, and he was everything. And anytime he was anywhere near anybody in Milwaukee who was revered, he was an icon, he was a legend. There's an old saying, it's not the amount of years in your life, it's the life in your years. So I would say that Bob Uecker passed away last week at the tender age of 300 because he was a beauty, and he had all the great lines, and he was self-deprecating. Milwaukee's going to miss him. I know at the end of the season, when I talked to my son, and I saw some of the interviews with Christian Yelich in particular, I think Bob Uecker, that sudden dramatic ending to the season when when Alonso hit the home run for the Mets, it kind of knocked them out of the playoffs. But I think, it was everybody in that room kind of knew that might be the last time they see Bob Uecker around the dressing room. And it was sad. And he went around and talked to all the players, and he was a friend to everybody. And I think that's the thing. We don't see that very much in broadcasting anymore in sports. Was he a homer? Yes, but he was an objective homer, and he was the Milwaukee Brewers. He was aptly called Mr. Baseball.
Hey, it's interesting, man. Now, when I cover the teams here in South Florida, they bring the coach in. We stand there for the scrum or the news conference, and then they're whisked out of the room by the PR person immediately. Yeah. The players, that bond has been broken. It's different for the play-by-play guys versus the regular media. Yeah. But we were just in Chicago last week, Rod, and drove by this building. I'd never been to Chicago before. 3-story high.
And one of my favorite cities. I love Chicago.
Oh, my God. What a town, bro. I brought home my Connor Bedard bobblehead, which will go lovingly on the thing here. But it's just, Bob Uecker played. I was thinking about this. Pat Summerall played in the NFL. Bob Uecker played in Major League Baseball. There are a few other. Randy Moeller calls Panthers games and played for the Panthers. Yeah. Like, guys that were athletes became play-by-play guys. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen again.
No. And I look at our athletic careers. I don't think we qualify. I mean, I was a javelin catcher and captain of the miniature golf team. But no, I mean, but I do. By the way, I do think there is something to having played. I do think as a caller, I mean,
of course,
I was fortunate enough. I never became a pro, but I was fortunate enough to play. I think there's something to be said for people who play the game and getting an understanding of what it's like to be an athlete, even though none of us made it to that level. Bob Uecker kind of understood that all the time. And he always, it'd been interesting if he was a football announcer, how he would have handled, the Mark Andrews situation or the Bill Buckner situation back in '86. Same way. I mean, I think he's always, very few announcers now side on the play, on the side of the player. And not to make an excuse, but they make you understand what the player was going through. We don't have that much anymore, and players are reticent to talk. Now they have everybody's a broadcaster. Everybody who's got a phone's a broadcaster, and they can make their opinions felt on social media, which is great, free speech. But there aren't many like him. And you're right about Summerall and Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker was really a special man, and his lines were classic. His Hall of Fame lines is everything that he ever said. I remember one banquet that we were at, and he said, I thought it was the greatest line ever. He said, my father said, looked at me and said, son, we have to embrace our failures. And he came up and he hugged me. So it's like, that's so Bob Uecker.
That's like a Rodney
my manager said to me, we got to stop the rally. So he sent me to the plate with a bat. It's like, that's so Bob Uecker and the Miller Lite ads.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget Mr. Belvedere, and he was on the price. And Johnny Carson, the Tonight Show. Johnny Carson made Mr. Baseball famous. He had him on more than any other guest. And Johnny Carson just absolutely loved Bob Uecker, as everybody did. So rest in peace to the Uke.
All right. Moving on, point 4, the Quick Six Show topics. Rod Black, good enough to join us this hour. Lou Gamelin will join us next hour from Michigan, the 12-ounce sports network. NFL again, the Minnesota Vikings and coach Kevin O'Connell have agreed to terms on a multi-year contract extension. The deal reached Tuesday follows a 14-3 regular season that defied external widespread preseason projections of at least a losing record, if not last place for the Vikings. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys completed an internal interview with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer on Tuesday night in their search to replace former coach Mike McCarthy. Schottenheimer is the first internal candidate to interview for the job. Mike McCarthy interviewed with Chicago, but the Bears hired Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as their coach. And I bring this up as, again, Rod's a pro sports guy. I just came from Chicago where they're poo-pooing, the Bears fans are poo-pooing the hiring of Ben Johnson, going, who is this guy? Never been a head coach, never won anything. The Lions folded. Well, how do you feel about this NFL coaching carousel here this offseason?
Well, I think, what we're starting to see is analytics are really coming into play now. And there aren't as many legendary coaches. I mean, there's no Mike Ditka that's going to walk through the door right now. And, you think about the Andy Reids and some, they're the larger than life characters. We just talked about Uke, who was larger than life. You don't have that as much anymore. I mean, I guess the Harbaughs, the Harbaugh brothers, would file into that category because they played at the highest level. But what we're starting to see is a lot of assistants who are graduating and coming up that level. And maybe that's because the players make so much money, and we're seeing it in every sport. I think we see it a lot in hockey. Players make so much money that, you can't fire players, but you can dispose of coaches. And so we're in this era of this data-driven, strict, sabermetric-driven world, a betting world, by the way, as well. And we're starting to see shuffles. I like Ben Johnson, by the way. I think that's a good hire. I still think that Deion Sanders' name could come out. I mean, again, they look for legends. One thing about Dallas, they always kind of have that name. There's a lot of talk about, Rex Ryan coming back.
From Rex.
How many times can play coach? How many coaches could be discarded? That's the thing. But hey, hang on one second. I want to show you something. Hang on. Talk amongst yourself. Watch this.
I can't imagine what he's going to show us here now. Rod Black, everybody's going to grab us, I think, a piece of memorabilia. Everybody guess. What is Rod Black going to put in front of the camera? He was answering.
You tweaked me, though. You tweaked me.
Okay.
Shout out Joe Carter, by the way. Joe Carter Classic. What's your favorite team?
The Dallas Cowboys.
You're a Cowboys fan, huh? So I am, because I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. What do you think, beyond a CFL team, what team would you logically root
I saw
for?
the
And
purple.
I think a lot of people insist. Yeah. And so I went to the Lions game with my son, who's a huge Lions fan, at Ford Field, which was an absolute debacle for the Vikings, who absolutely peed the bed the last couple of weeks. And I'm not sure about Sam Darnold moving forward, but anyway, because he had such a great season, I thought this might be the year of the Vikings. But he had his St. Brown jersey, and I had my Look at that,
Fran
baby.
Tarkenton. Ooh.
Yeah, but I
Signed
probably
yet.
cursed him
Signed.
because Fran Tarkenton went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost. He pulled the Jim Kelly. And but I'm a huge Vikings fan, and so we'll see what happens there. But I think, they got great fan base. It's going to be interesting. It's musical coaches right now. And it's funny. Like, even this weekend, no job is safe in the National Football League, especially if strategically something happens. I mean, you talk about the Lions. Dan Campbell, I think Dan Campbell is a fantastic coach, chemistry-wise, leadership-wise. But man, that dude, can he out-trick himself every single time? Coaches don't win, they don't come up with these plays to win games. I think they try to outsmart themselves all the time. Oh, that play worked. Why not play it safe? Why not play it like it is? The way it's going to unfold, like it should unfold for the Buffalo Bills? Trick plays every single year. Yeah, they might work, but guess what? When it comes down to the Super Bowl, although the Philadelphia special worked a few years ago, they try to out-trick themselves. And you know something? You can out-trick yourself out of a job.
No, I agree. Well, and by the way, I was listening to Dan Patrick this morning. Yeah, there you go. Fran Tarkenton. I love it. The Purple People Leaders. Listening to Dan Patrick, they said, who's winning the offseason in the NFL for teams that aren't still playing? And they said, well, let's just wait and see what Dallas does. Maybe they'll win the offseason. It's just the command that the Cowboys and Jerry Jones have of people's attention is almost sickening to me because I'm a Cowboys fan, and that's what Jerry wants. We go over it on this show
like
all the time. I'm tired of it. Yeah, but at least they've won.
Yeah. Well, so did the Cowboys. The Cowboys used to win a lot, and everybody hated the Cowboys. It's kind of like the Chiefs now, don't you think? That, everybody fell in love with the Chiefs a few years ago. And beyond Kansas City, I know they love the Chiefs, and there's Chiefs fans everywhere. But now you become the evil empire because people want to see you. They want to put you on the pedestal. They want to put you on the podium, grab the trophy, and then they want to rip you down. And
they want to knock you off.
That's kind of what happened to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, but I mean, again, we follow the team every day, and we're all sick of Jerry. Just sell the team or get out of the way. We're just sick of Jerry and the way that he treats people and blah, 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 blah. But let me ask you this. Just
he
to
owns
wind it up
the
on the
team,
Super Bowl
Rod.
thing again. Stop saying that.
Team.
Please stop. I hear that all the time about owners that are running their teams into the ditch.
Well,
don't
Rod,
talk about franchise
get
value.
This podcast out to 60, get it out to 50 states, get it around the world, start making a little more cake, and buy the damn team.
How about that?
That's a great idea. No,
I'd rather talk to Elon Musk or Bezos or Zuckerberg. Get them out of politics and start buying sports teams.
Elon Musk's mom is from North Battleford. Just putting that out there. Yeah. Okay. I just blew my own mind with that stat. Okay. We're not going down the politics road today.
No, we're not. No, we're not, Rod. We're not going down the pipe. We're not going down there right now.
What do you got going on here? In 90 seconds or less, what's next up for Rod Black? Please tell your legion of fans.
Busy with a bunch of games, some stream games down south. I do a bunch of basketball and some hockey right now, but I also got to do a lot of speaking stuff right now, which is great. Love doing that. It's kind of January is kind of always the January blahs. Then get ready for the spring. CEBL creeps up, and if anybody out there needs, I'm fully available. If you need your car cleaned, your garage cleaned. You got a birthday party or bar mitzvah you want me to host, I'm happy to do that for you. I've got my OnlyFans account, which is not going very well right now. and I don't know. That's about it. I got lots going on. And then, of course, spring training begins, so I'll get down in Arizona, which I love, and watch my boy.
The best, man. The absolute best. Rod, thanks for coming on. It goes very fast. Appreciate you.
No, it does. All right. Well, go Bills, go Eagles, go everybody. And by the way, it's freezing up here, Rod. So stay warm, stay healthy, everybody.
I miss it. I miss it every day.
No, you don't.
Rod Black joining.
No, you don't.
Rod Black joining us from Ontario. We'll be right back, everybody, with a sports update. Viewer takeover the rest of the way. Lou Gamelin, Captain Lou Gamelin. I almost said Albano. In hour 2. We have a lot of fun things to get to today. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasts, wherever the best podcasts are found.